Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more stories like this. The morning everything started, the metropolis lay dormant. A veil of early morning dimness draped across the cityscape. My wake-up alert stayed silent. Instead, it delivered a subtle buzz, along with a simulated dawn that bathed my sleeping quarters in a pure, gentle glow. Discipline and accuracy. These form the foundation of my existence. My living space is minimalist, featuring tones of ivory and silver paired with polished metal. It's a serene environment suited to a tranquil intellect. My workspace at Argent Bank mirrored that aesthetic. Long before daylight broke over the edge of the earth, I'd arrive and position myself in front of my array of 6 displays. The sole occupants of my haven were a resilient potted plant I named Wittgenstein and the spectral presence of Johann Sebastian Bach, whose complex compositions offered the ideal precise auditory backdrop for my tasks. My brew was unadulterated, my concentration absolute. Across the monitors in front of me, the Orus records pulsed with activity. To outsiders, it appeared merely as information. Countless exchanges, an international stream of capital coursing via the institution's electronic pathways. For me, though, it felt organic. I'd constructed it entirely from scratch, coding each meticulous segment. It transcended a mere record keeper. It formed a resilient, quantum-secure monetary network capable of self-repair. It possessed a cadence, an electronic pulse detectable solely by me. He remained oblivious to the true value he sought to take. He viewed it as merely employment, position. What escaped him was that Arius represented my entire career's dedication. That dawn, I noticed it. A quiver, one isolated data unit eternally misaligned by the tiniest fraction. It manifested as a minuscule delay in a transaction spanning Zurich to Tokyo. Others would never detect it. No automatic warning would highlight it. Yet I sensed it akin to a maestro catching a lone fiddle note slightly off-pitch by a fraction. My hands glided over the keys. Several refined instructions, a precise fix. The quiver dissolved. The network's cadence restored itself to flawless balance. I savored a leisurely gulp of my brew. Equilibrium reigned in my realm once more. Then, precisely at 9 a.m., Damon Wells entered. He held the freshly assigned role of head risk manager, a position he'd gained just like his unnaturally bright smile and his inherited spot on his father's director panel via legacy. At 32 years old, clad in attire pricier than my vehicle, he exuded the sort of unwarranted assurance born from a lifetime without denial. He marched into the seasonal planning session as if charging into combat. His outfit gleamed in a vivid azure hue that stung the gaze. His neckwear erupted in a chaotic blend of fabrics. He carried the scent of lavish fragrance mingled with regrettable choices. Okay, everyone, he launched in, slapping his palms. The clap reverberated through the clinical meeting chamber. We must operationalize our outputs. Now's the moment to capitalize on our key strengths and shift to a bolder collaborative dynamic. I observed as the institution's top leaders, individuals who'd steered through worldwide economic upheavals, bobbed their heads with gravity. They were used to the spectacle of business lingo. I, on the other hand, experienced it as outright discomfort. It resembled overhearing a youngster spouting advanced vocabulary without grasping their essence. He directed a well-groomed digit toward the display, projecting a diagram of my ARIA framework. Here's our launch point. Noemi's Modest Information Initiative here. Modest Information Initiative. The framework handling 7 trillion daily. The electronic bastion unbroken throughout its decade-long span. A chill twist formed in my gut, yet my demeanor stayed composed and serene. It's sturdy, he went on generously. Strong foundation. However, it's outdated. Lacks flexibility. Lacks appeal, he strode before the display. I've negotiated with a supplier for an updated analysis package. Named FutureSight. Excellent marketing appeal. We could migrate the Orus chain to their hosted service for greater vitality. Silence enveloped the space. Transferring the Orus records, a sealed exclusive setup, to an outside hosted environment equated to extracting Fort Knox's treasures and stashing them in a communal storage unit. It constituted an inherently disastrous notion. I cleared my voice. Attention shifted my way. Damon, I stated, tone steady and measured. Arius isn't a chain. It's a block lattice design, and its protection relies on its enclosed framework. Linking an outside package, particularly one with exposed interfaces like FutureSight, would introduce major safety risks. I outlined the engineering justification succinctly and precisely. I detailed the encryption methods, the server seclusion, the core tenets establishing it as the pinnacle in finance. Damon regarded me with a strained, artificial grin. He held off until I concluded, then let out a laugh. Noemi, I value the detail, but that's outdated cautionary talk. We must adopt flexible approaches. We can't shy from disrupting to progress. The session concluded. His suggestion, bolstered by his father's sway, received approval for an initial test. The initial spark ignited. It marked the onset of numerous minor professional slights. He overlooked including me in subsequent discussions on the framework I'd created. He claimed my performance analyses as his discoveries. He regarded me with the patronizing demeanor of someone tolerating a stubborn yet inconsequential elder family member. I bore it with courteous poise. I recorded all instances and I bided my time. The intrusion, when it occurred, unfolded precisely as I'd foreseen. It proved trivial, stemming from a flaw in the FutureSight interface. No funds vanished. No vital information escaped. It resembled a superficial abrasion, yet it provided the opportunity Damon had anticipated. He called me to the transparent enclosed discussion area on the leadership level. It was 11 a.m. My full crew witnessed my entry. They observed Damon positioned there, limbs folded, wearing an expression of somber glee. He skipped providing a chair. Your modest initiative has exposed us, he declared, volume sufficient to project. He motioned loosely toward the exchange area beyond the transparency. The directors concur we require a bolder security stance. We're phasing out your hands-on supervision. I remained motionless, fingers linked behind me. The intrusion was from outside Damon. It entered via the FutureSight entry. I possessed the records. He flicked a rejecting gesture. Minutiae. The essence is your framework, sat at its core. It's obsolete, overly inflexible. We demand adaptability, vitality. He advanced nearer, his tone shifting to feigned compassion. It formed the harshest element of the act. We no longer require clock craftsmen, Noemi. We require launch vehicles, and you're hindering our ascent. The term lingered in the space dividing us. Clock craftsmen. He signaled to the pair of protection personnel who'd materialized at the entrance. They'll guide you away. Your belongings will arrive by delivery. My privileges terminated before I could bid farewell to my group. As the escorts directed me toward the lift, I glanced rearward. I viewed my workspace, my retreat, and upon my surface I spotted Wittgenstein, my petite plant, forsaken beneath the artificial illumination. I noticed Damon observing through the transparency, bearing a conceited, victorious grin. I maintained upright posture. My visage stayed impassive. He wouldn't witness any fracture. He'd observe absolute composure. As the lift panels sealed, the impersonal business corridor vanished. Briefly, I reverted to childhood. I stood within my parents' atelier. The atmosphere carried aromas of timber treatment, aged alloy, and lubricant. Rays of sun pierced the grimy pane, highlighting the delicate, elaborate realm of a sophisticated chronometer mechanism arrayed on his work surface. My parent, with firm and confident grip, lifted a minute cog via forceps. Each component serves a function, Noemi, he uttered, his timbre a deep murmur, including the tiniest. To grasp the device, one must comprehend the essence of every element. He regarded me, his gaze folding at the edges. The globe teems with folks who merely observe the indicators advancing. They ignore the core driving its motion. He quoted a verse from an ancient verse he cherished, a phrase concerning the hidden essence of the device. The lift arrived at the base level. The recollection dimmed, though the sensation persisted. Comfort, resilience, lucidity. Damon's slight hadn't registered as one. It served as a foretelling. He perceived a clock craftsman. He failed to recognize he faced the designer of the mechanism powering his whole existence. I'd engineered this framework with one concealed attribute, an attribute exclusive to my awareness. an attribute originating in that timber-scented atelier long past. I avoided returning home in fury. I skipped contacting legal aid. I retreated to my tranquil, structured residence. I accessed my portable computer. I accessed my private schedule. A repeated entry appeared 10 days ahead. It denoted a confidential session I'd scheduled a decade prior upon Arias's initial launch. It read simply Audit Day. A gradual, contented grin emerged on my features. It marked my initial smile that day. I reserved a single direction passage to an isolated lodge amid the peaks, a location I knew lacked mobile coverage and web access. I assembled a compact pack, several volumes, insulating garments. I required no intrusion into systems. I needed no malware insertion or file disclosure. My retribution was an indeed. It constituted the intentional, strategical mission of one. My instrument was the timetable. The ensuing 10 days, I presume, brought Damon Wells immense victory. He distributed a firm-wide notice proclaiming a fresh phase of adaptable security oversight. He claimed my workspace. He likely discarded Wittgenstein. He proceeded to embed his absurd future sight program further into the institution's edge operations, a youngster eagerly connecting playthings to a fission powerhouse. In the meantime, within Argent's electronic core, a timer progressed. The framework's embedded timepiece, a code segment as unalterable as natural principles, tallied moments to the required seasonal verification review. It formed a procedure I'd crafted as the supreme safeguard. It would resecure the whole multi-trillion value record set, eliminating extras and bolstering its barriers. It proved unstoppable. It defied circumvention. And it demanded a code, a 256-symbol mixed code, a code absent from any storage unit, a code undocumented anywhere, a code produced via a memory-based formula residing solely in one global location, my consciousness. It derived from recollections of my parents' atelier, the identifiers of his implements, the scheduled date, and the verse phrase on the device's essence. It embodied, in essence, a fragment of my essence. The 10th day dawned. I sat distant from society, in a cozy seat beside a blazing hearth, perusing a volume. Flakes descended gently beyond, shrouding the surroundings in purity. Serenity prevailed. At Argent Bank, it struck 9 a.m. Eastern Time Zone. The timer reached null. Within the vast cooled operations hub, one notification surfaced on the primary display. It appeared in a straightforward, crisp typeface. It glowed with a mild pale radiance. Integrity audit launched. Pending Horus code. Initially, bewilderment reigned over alarm, a notice, a malfunction. The on-shift operators executed checks. They detected no issues. The framework operated impeccably. It merely paused. As a result of the pause, all external global exchanges halted. Subsequently, the clearance mechanisms started faltering. The capital stream ceased. By the 11th day, bewilderment soured into worry. Damon, as I learned afterward, raged. He presumed a minor error, a remnant from prior management. He enlisted a squad of costly external experts. They ranked among the elite. They examined the Horus display. Baffled, the framework resembled an opaque container, its central reasoning unassailable. Each effort to skirt the code demand encountered a courteous yet resolute electronic denial. The framework had barred entry. It safeguarded its integrity. The exchanges, detecting instability, grew restless. By the 12th day, the institution stood immobilized. Billions in value lay unreachable. Shares plummeted unchecked. Broadcast outlets aired urgent reports on the Argent collapse. Damon transcended rage into dread. He embodied a storm of futile anger. His costly garment creased, his complexion ashen with perspiration. He bellowed at his operations crew. He bellowed at the experts. He captained a vessel halted amid the waves, ignorant of its propulsion. The framework he'd labeled obsolete had humbled him and the full institution. That night, a desperate hunt for me concluded with tracing my travel, engaging a regional escort, and dispatching him to my lodge via motorized sled. He bore an orbital communicator. They claim it's urgent, the escort informed, his exhalation clouding in the chill. I accepted the device. I retreated indoors and positioned myself by the blaze. I activated it. A visual link established. An array of countenances materialized. Argent's full directorate appeared stern and alarmed, and in a compact frame, Damon Wells. He seemed a decade older in mere days. Noemi, the lead director, uttered, timbre taut. We're relieved to locate you. The framework secured. Some code variant. I permitted the quiet to extend. I drew a deliberate taste of my infusion. I heard the hearth snap. On the display, faint echoes of the operations area's turmoil reached me, a chorus of alarm. Damon's visage filled the central frame. Noemi, he faltered. There, we had a mix-up. I regret it. I regarded him. His bravado evaporated. His arrogant poise yielded to desperate entreaty. The expression as he grasped his whole realm, his profession, his lineage's standing lay wholly in my control. It surpassed any anticipation of fulfillment. I witnessed his realm crumble live. Amid the sole audio of the hearth's crackle, I allowed another extended interval. Then I addressed them. My timbre rang even, utterly composed. The code isn't merely an access phrase, Damon. It's a verification of attendance, a verification of insight. I inclined slightly toward the device's lens. What escaped him was that Horus transcends machinery. It harbors an essence, and the framework safeguards against individuals like you. The return journey occurred via chartered aircraft. The directorate awaited in the primary assembly hall. They omitted beverages. They skipped casual exchange. They simply anticipated my words. I bypassed seating. I positioned at the table's forefront in the lead's chair. I omitted bargaining. I specified conditions. Primarily, Damon Wells faced dismissal for severe oversight failure, instant effect. His exit package revoked. His equity choices nullified. Secondarily, I'd assume his prior role as head risk manager. Additionally, a fresh executive title, head framework designer, would emerge for me. I'd wield supreme command over the institution's complete electronic setup. Third, I'd gain a director position. They consented instantly. Their urgency offered the most gratifying affirmation. I proceeded from the assembly hall to the operations hub. The operators and leaders crowding the area yielded before me like parted waters. They viewed me blending reverence and apprehension. I transcended merely Noemi, the reserved data guardian. I stood as the singular global figure capable of reviving the pulse of the worldwide monetary network. I settled at the primary station. The basic notification lingered on the display, pending Horus code. I disregarded the multitude of gazes upon me. I shut my eyes. Temporarily, I returned to that timber-dusted atelier. I envisioned my parents' grip. I heard his timbre. I sensed the reassuring heft of a small, flawless cog in my grasp. My digits danced over the keys. It wasn't an access phrase. It formed a composition of symbols, a coded verse. The 256 symbol code emerged from recollection onto the display. I pressed confirm. Briefly, stillness held. Then the notification erased. In its stead, the Horus records revitalized. Information resumed circulation. The capital stream flowed anew. A unified exhale of ease, nearly a thunder, permeated the space. The pulse resumed. Months afterward, I occupied my upgraded workspace, Damon's former one. His flashy non-representational pieces vanished. The vivid azure surfaces repainted to soothing neutral silver. On the partition rear to my station hung one oversized encased diagram. It depicted an exquisite detailed sketch of a tourbillon chronometer regulator. At my station's edge, adjacent to my input device, rested Wittgenstein. A past colleague had retrieved him for me. He appeared thriving. I now served as head risk manager and head framework designer at Argent. I held a director's seat. I ranked among the company's most influential figures. My inaugural formal step in this elevated role involved launching a thorough penetrating verification review of every personal and lineage holding Damon Wells maintained at the institution. A review he couldn't halt. A review that immobilized each of his holdings. He endured not only dismissal, he suffered professional and monetary emasculation via the precise framework he'd so haughtily dismissed. I drew a taste of my brew. It remained unadulterated. Beyond my pain, The metropolis thrived with activity, trade, the endless data circulation. I sensed the soft rhythmic vibration of the Ori's records enveloping me, a flawless structured cosmos operating precisely per its designer's vision. The watchmaker had,